Welcome to my cellar. It's going to be a short one tonight. Number one, I've been sicker than a dog for the last 2 days. Only felt like I didn't want to die about earlier this afternoon. You won't see this till Saturday, so hopefully I'll be fully over it by then. Second reason is that I didn't get many comments, so I'll deal with them. But I don't want to just sit and run off the mouth. I'd rather interact. And there won't be one next weekend because I'll be at GaryCon. So let's see, that makes it the 20th. All right, I won't be doing another one till you'll see it on the 30th. I had to look at my calendar here. So let's jump into it. It's not real long, but we'll try to make it a good one. And you'll notice I'm using a little more light just because I don't feel like getting up. Frank Frazetta of Conan fame and plenty of others is a fantasy artist you were trying to remember, I suspect. You're right. Thank you. It was. Vallejo and Frazetta, painters of vans everywhere. I'm a member of the group where that scantily clad art question was raised. Most of the comments all say the same thing. The question is a stupid question. Yeah, I agree. Trying to, we could go back and show all kinds of great masters that are containing themes that we're not comfortable with today. Times change. They change faster in this electronic age. Times change a hell of a lot faster than they ever did before. All right, here we go. This is a long one, so I'll read it through and then I'll go back. On called shots, I'm a fan of allowing them at -4 to hit under the condition that a successful hit won't inflict extra damage by itself, but they impose an agreed-upon inflicted condition on a successful attack that is logical and rooted in the specific conditions of the scenario. This covers everything from trying to disarm, break an opponent's weapon, to cutting off limbs and even shield bashing an orc off a cliff. Again, this doesn't inflict extra damage, but the fall damage will. Good point. Just has to make sense and expands combat beyond variable damage dice, space required to use, and a weapon reach. You won't be able to use your +3 Becta Corbin if an orc used the pommel of his sword to bash your left hand on a successful -4 hit, rendering it useless for how many ever turns or until the cleric uses one of the cure light wounds on it. This thinking can even extend to traps. HP is an abstraction. They don't represent meat points. An attack on the fiction of the character's ability to walk, use their hands, see, etc. can make for a thrilling and challenging dungeon without chopping away hit points first. Well, here we get into that tricky area of what hit points are. They are the ability to evade the fatal blow, but I'm sorry, it's going to be a hell of a lot harder if you don't have a left hand. That's just the way I feel about it. What have I always said since I started this 302 episodes ago and more before that? If you're having fun doing it, by all means, do it. However, some of this makes me think that you're getting a little too much into what was supposed to be an abstraction. The game is about exploring and finding stuff and, killing stuff, but it's also about rescuing princes or, princesses, or maybe it's a prince that needs rescuing. I don't care to get into that specificity on weapons and what they do or what they don't do. If that's your bag, go. I started with 3rd edition and Ascending AC, but I still prefer Descending AC for 2 reasons. It's more elegant when everything's single digits, and 2, the old molecules and monster manuals, which still beat the pants off anything in the new school, use it. OSR stuff is usually 50-50 on whether or not they use ascending or descending, and many use both because the math is dead simple either way. No matter what you're used to, you can figure out what you're dealing with and what kind of, if you're familiar with ascending and descending, and You roll a 14 and it doesn't hit, well, you got a good idea what you're dealing with. And I said only a good idea. Thanks for laying out your method of allowing skill in your game. I have heard DMs exclaim something like surprise or trepidation when playing rules-light games. Could you please expound further upon the attitude of flying by the seat of logic's pants, as it were, versus the constant referral to legalistic tomes or players correcting DMs on their effects of DM's gambit due to extensive qualities of their PC skill set? Yeah, I'd like to have somebody argue with me. Of course, I have the advantage. I run, for the last several years, I've done nothing but run adventures on the Wheel of Blame, and everybody's using a pre-gen, and I know their characters better than they do. But flying by the seat of your pants is just, in my opinion, is doing what feels right. Doesn't have to be logical. Many things happen every day that are illogical. Oh, don't you love it when I do that? Anyway, you got to go with the flow and what feels right. And, okay, if it feels right in a given circumstance, and another circumstance comes along at a different time or place, and it doesn't feel right, well, then don't do it. And don't brook arguments about, hey, you let us do it last time. Well, yeah, last time the guy was sick. Slow, whatever. Playing by the seat of your pants as DM is playing by what feels right, what's keeping your players happy to an extent. I don't cater, but I do like to see happy smiles and cheerful countenances around my table. Go with your gut. You believe me, your players will tell you if your gut's sour. Okay, like the sour gut I had for the last 2 days. I have not been that sick since I had chemotherapy. That's how bad it was. Oh, man, it was bad. And so, I wouldn't have trusted my gut yesterday. But the point being, playing seat of your pants is maybe it involves, gasp, dare I say it, fudging. I see nothing wrong whatsoever in fudging a roll, because I'll do it just as likely as I will for a player as I will for a monster. If it adds to the creative level of the game and adds to the fun level of the game, go by the seat of your pants. Do what feels right. Do what feels right. That's really all I can advise you. You just got to feel it. And when you can't feel it, that's when you resort to rules and tables and charts. Okay. Dear Tim, question: difficulty for affecting damage rolls. In addition to penalizing rolls against AC, is it reasonable to reduce damage probability, apply penalties, for example, -1, or even reducing the dice, say, from to a D4 instead of D8, as a way for the DMs to indicate difficulty of movement or melee actions? What is the best tactic for DMs when dealing with restricted movement or impaired senses that should logically interfere with melee effectiveness? I think that I mainly handle that through my initiative rolls. We roll, in my games, we roll a D10 for initiative, including the monsters. And if somebody's trying to do something difficult, or someone is impeded in some way, well, then their initiative jumps. In my game, 0s go first and 9s go last. And maybe you rolled a 4, but something you're doing, well, you're now a 9. Or maybe you're a 1 on the next round and miss it altogether. Again, as a DM, you got to do what feels right. It has to feel right. And if it does, then it is right, because it's your game. I don't believe that you'll think it feels right if you know it's going to screw your players over. They're trusting you to treat them fair. You're trusting them not to cheat. Do what feels right. Restricted movement, impaired senses. Well, impaired senses. Okay, you're muzzy-headed or whatever from something that happened to you or whatever. There again, I handle that in the initiative rolls, and I penalize or whatever. For instance, I don't use magic users on the Wheel of Blame. If I were, then however complicated their spells were and however much physical crap they needed would be a bump up. Works for me. Try it. You might find it ease and elegance. That's what all of us game designers look for, is elegance. If it's an elegant system, people will be happy with it. It'll work easily. And it means somebody's thought a lot about it beforehand, more than likely. Impaired senses, again, could be gas in the air or something like that. Well, it just makes everybody slower. They thought they rolled a 2 and it was actually a 7. They weren't quite that fast. They didn't react quite as quickly as they might have. That's the way I do it. Salutations, Curmudgeonly 1. What is the least authentic, realistic, but still a lot of fun war game, or any game of any sort, you would recommend as perhaps a guilty pleasure? Well, 2 immediately spring to mind. One is Feudality. It's a Tom Wham game. I don't even know if it's still in print, but there seems to be a number of them out there, and it's serious. It's silly. And there's a lot of ability to screw the other players in a friendly, gamerly fashion. Feudality. It's a lot of it is lucky rolls. A lot of it is where you place your various tiles on your individual map. But I highly recommend Tom Wham's Feudality. Another guilty pleasure that I would recommend is Scoville, the measurement used for creating heat and peppers. It's a very simple game. You plant peppers, you harvest peppers, you crossbreed peppers. Various peppers are needed for various chili recipes, which gain you victory points. There are many ways to get victory points along the way. And yes, there's a way in this very simple moving around the Pepper Patch game where you can screw the other players. So immediately it was a big hit with my group. You can just simply all stop next to him, and he can't move that turn, and he can't harvest any peppers. Or you can stop him move in one direction so he only can go a crappier direction. My old group, and one of them died recently, and we're not sure if we're going to be starting back up again. One of my old group, my old group, all of us played the game frequently, and I'm not guilty about it, but if you say to most people, huh, Scoville, huh, and it has an expansion that is absolutely worth the money, because now you have your private little greenhouse you can grow your own peppers in and breed your own varieties unbeknownst to your competitors. Great fun. And it's, an hour and a half, 2 hour game once everybody knows it. So those are my guilty pleasures. But I don't feel guilty about them whatsoever. See, I told you this is going to be a short one. Okay, because now I'm down to the last comment. I only had 10. That's about half as many as normal. All right. What hot drinks are you partial to? You seem only to imbibe sodas on the show. What hot drinks are your favorites? I'm a little too fond of cocoa myself. Apparently, chocolate is what certain native South American peoples drank during psilocybin mushroom taking rituals. Kind of makes sense to me. What was your favorite bev during recreational psychedelic experiences? Well, the statute of limitations is well past for the last time I did mushrooms. Mountain Dew, lemonade. The only hot drink that I really, other than soup or broth, is hot chocolate. I don't care for tea. I don't care for coffee. I just don't care for hot drinks, to sit around and sip hot drinks. But yeah, good. Oh, best chocolate I ever had was when we were in Paris many years ago. And boy, I tell you what, for whatever else their faults are, the French know how to make hot chocolate. Woo-wee. And like I said, this is going to be a short one. And I don't want to get too windy. None of these topics are particularly worth a lot of wind. Not to say your questions are invalid, but I mean, I think I've answered them pretty well. So that's it. For those of you who have pre-ordered and prepaid for the Lost Adventures, if you're coming to GaryCon, we'll have your copy there for you. We need to know in advance so we know how many to bring. And not everybody can make it. We're well aware of that. So I put it on my wall on my Facebook post concerning that. And let us know. I'm looking forward to GaryCon. I always do. Get to see a lot of old friends that I only see once or twice a year. And so I always look forward to it for that. And I'm just glad I got sick this week and not next week. Because if it had been next week on Tuesday that I got that ill, I wouldn't be going on Wednesday up to GaryCon. So for those of you who might be glad to see me there, yay! And for those who, oh, sure, he's going to be here again anyway. Sorry, I'll be there. Oh, and that handsome fellow you see in the back with that lovely white beard leaning up against the chair there, that's my character in the Luke Gygax extravaganza Kickstarter thing they did. I'm an NPC in there, and that's me, Uraj, the druid, a badass druid. And with no more to say than that, I'll see you, you'll see me, I won't see you, you'll see me again in 2 weeks. So until that time, Dodata Govi. Hello, and welcome to my cellar.
The Curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs. Still quite a feller, the Curmudgeon in the cellar. Last man around when them rates went down. Calling Gary in that Lake Geneva town. Hey Gary, it's an awful mess. Let me edit, we'll have success. D&D and Dragon Magazine. He's the Curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the Curmudgeon in the cellar. Magic missile, it's a mortar shell. Make it hit in the first level spell. Brought psionics to the game to attack that wizard's brain. ESR and fantasy, collection of micro armory, Titan with tramp under a tree, high as could be. He's the Curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the Curmudgeon in the cellar. Still quite the feller, the Curmudgeon in the cellar. Curmudgeon.